Now in this specific video you're going to learn how to install WordPress manually through FTP. Now before we get started, there are several things that you're going to need to do. Number one is you're going to need to download WordPress. Number two, you're going to need a web hosting FTP username and password. And finally, number three, you're going to need an FTP program. So I'm going to show you how to get an FTP program. So go to Google, and I'd actually recommend that you download a program called FileZilla, which is free, so you don't have to pay anything for it. If you go to FileZilla and click Client Download, FileZilla is compatible with Windows, with Macintosh and Linux. So just go ahead to download it, install it and open it up. And then of course the next thing you'll need is of course the WordPress files. So if you go over to google.com again, type in WordPress download and click at the top here and then simply click download WordPress 3.4 or whichever version, and it might be 3.4.2 now on your version, and just locate where it is installed on your computer and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the file right here. What you want to do is to extract or unzip. So we're going to unzip it into a folder and then simply click on the folder until you see all the files. Okay, so these are the files that we want to upload to our website. So the next step is to go to FileZilla, the FTP program that we just downloaded, and this is the program that you see here. And what you need to do is up at the top, using your FTP username and password, go to the host section. Here type in ftp dot whatever your domain name is .com or whatever extension you have, and then enter your username and your password. What I like about FileZilla is that once you connect once, it'll store a list of your history. So if you want to connect to it later, you can actually do that, no problem. Okay, so right now what you need to do is to go to the public _HTML folder. Now some of you will have a main folder called HTTP docs, depending on your host. So for some of you it might be different. So go to your main folder, and if you want to install WordPress on your domain.com, your main domain, then you're going to copy all of these files to that main folder. However, if you want to install WordPress in a subdirectory, then you'll need to create that directory in the main folder. And in this case I'm going to install WordPress in a subdirectory. So what I need to do is simply right click on create a directory and create directory. So let's say for example I'm going to be creating a blog on t-shirts. So I'm going to call this funnytshirts.com /funnytshirts2 and click on OK. I'm going to open this folder, and what you do is simply highlight all the files here and then simply drag with my mouse from here to here. As you can see, it's uploading over 900 files. Now while it's uploading, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my browser, and I'm going to log into my web hosting panel so that I can create a database and the database username and password. We need these items in order to finalize the WordPress installation. So whether you're using cPanel or whether you're using Plesk or any other type of web hosting panel, the key here is to create a MySQL database and username and password. So in this case I'm using cPanel. So what I need to do with cPanel is to scroll down and find where it says My SQL Database Wizard. So like I said earlier, if you're using Plesk or any other type of web hosting panel, you should see something that says Create MySQL Database. And if you don't, you can always contact your web hosting company and they should be able to direct you to where you can source that. If I click on this here and I enter, let's say, Funny T-shirts 2, click on Next Step, we'll generate a password. And this, make sure you save that password. Okay. Create user and make sure that you save this information. And click on All Privileges, click on Next Step, and there we go. So the only thing we need to do now is to, of course, make note that this is the database. And I am actually copying this over to a notepad as I'm speaking here. And the password. Okay. So once we're done with this, we're almost done. Close this out and I'm going back to FileZilla and I see that all the files have been uploaded. Now what I need to do is I need to go back to my computer where the files are located and locate the w-config-sample.php file. There. What I'm going to do is rename this file to wp-config.php. Next, right click, open this file using Notepad. And if you're using Macintosh, just open this up with Notepad or some other sort of text editor. And what we want to do is to take these three pieces of information that we created earlier. The database username and password. Replace this information here with what we just created. Okay, so now replace the text between these single quotes with the information in the wp-config.php file. Then of course the password between these single quotes here, and then of course you exit and click on save, and then copy the new file here, wp-config, over to your website FTP. This is the last thing you'll need to do. Simply go over to your browser and go to the location where you installed the files. Where the WordPress files are located. Enter your site title, and we're going to call this Funny T-shirts 2. Enter your administrative username and password. Enter your email, and what this means here is that if this privacy box is checked, it will allow search engines to index the site. So what does that mean? In other words, once you've installed the WordPress site, if this is checked, it will notify Google that your site is up. Now, I don't recommend doing this simply because if you do this and your site is not updated and doesn't have content there, then Google will come to your site and say, hey, where's all the content, right? So I'd rather uncheck this, and then once I'm ready and all the content is there, then I'll go into WordPress settings and uncheck this once I'm ready. Okay, so then click Install WordPress and it's done. So go ahead. and log in. Great, congratulations. So by installing it manually, you've installed WordPress 3.4 or 3.4.2.